Hey, everybody. My name's Jason. I am 54 years old, and at 52, I was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer that had metastasized to my spine. And on this channel, we talk about it. Today, I've got a guest. We are going to talk to Thomas Bardwell from Huntsville, Texas. Thomas, how are you?
Fine. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Thank you.
So you're from Huntsville, Texas. What do you do for work?
I'm an auto mechanic.
Right on.
Auto technician. I've been doing it, excuse me, for probably about 40 years now.
Right on. I looked up where Huntsville, Texas was. I've got some family just a couple hours west of you there in Rockdale. So shout out to the Millers. Those are my family from Rockdale.
Well, we used to live in Spring, Texas years ago, and then we ended up moving in 17 to come out here because I wanted more property and my wife wanted a garden. So we ended up coming out here.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. We're going to roll the intro.
All right.
Welcome to Prostate Cancer, the road to recovery with Jason Stone, a stage 4 fighter. This podcast brings you support and insights from survivors, fighters, and medical experts. Join us for an educational and inspiring journey.
All right, Tom. So is Tom okay, or do you go by Tom?
No, that's fine. I don't care. That's fine.
Okay. So what led you to get checked out? You had prostate cancer and you had surgery, you had the prostatectomy. What led you to get checked out? Did you have symptoms, or was it a routine checkup?
Routine. I went to my doctor to get my blood pressure medicine refilled. And I went there and they said, when's the last time you had a prostate exam? And I've always thought, I don't want to go to a prostate exam the old way. He says, no, they do a blood test now because, I wasn't looking forward to it. So then I went to, he said, well, we got to send you to a urologist. But first, the blood test, and it was at 11. And I thought, what was my PSA high? I thought, well, there's got to be another contributing factor. My dad had prostate, I think it was enlarged. And they didn't talk much about it. He just went to the doctor. They said they scraped out whatever. I'm like, I don't know how they scrape out a prostate, but that's what they told us. So I'm like, now what? So I went. I had the first blood test, and then he sent me to a urologist, my first urologist I went to, and then that urologist sent me for another test, and within probably about a year, not quite a year, it went up to 14. And I thought, well, that's high too, but, your mind doesn't want to accept what's going on. You're like, well, it may be just it's enlarged,
Well, it's like my doctor, my doctor didn't even want to. My initial doctor, looking at my first PSA that was high, was like, it's probably an infection. Here, spend 5 weeks taking some antibiotics. We don't, and I wanted to believe that, right?
Sure. Your mind wants to believe what it wants to believe. And nobody in my family's ever had it. They've never had cancer. So I'm thinking, well, my bloodline's fine, which is kind of stupid, but we don't eat the same things our grandparents and our parents ate. Over the years, they've been dumping. I'm just assuming. And then anyway, so I went to that urologist, and he said, well, you got to get you a biopsy. Now, that was probably the most embarrassing thing, because it's like, I'm not a woman by no means, but I had to get my legs on stirrups, and I'm like, man, what's going on? And not to mention the other part, which I don't even want to talk about. No. It was very embarrassing. I'm telling you, that was the only thing that was the worst thing for me, was doing that.
Oh yeah, so they reached down, they taped my junk up to my stomach, and let's get that out of the way. I'm like, I hope I never ever see any of these people at the store.
No, and it was like I said, it was so embarrassing. I guess that's besides other things that women have to go through. That's probably not the worst thing that we have to go through just to find out if we're going to live or not. So
I have a lot more empathy for what they do.
Yeah. So I had him look at he gave me the results on my birthday in 23. He gave me the results. I'm like, now what? So in the meantime, you're like, okay, I want to get this out, but you got to have an MRI. So I did the MRI. Now that's where you come in, because when I went to get the MRI, after that, my wife says, you got to watch this guy. I said, okay. And so I was watching, and okay, you got to get a PSMA CAT scan. Am I correct?
PET scan. PET. Yep.
So I went to my doctor. First, I did what you said also, was get a second opinion, which I did.
Good.
And then, I'll get to the second opinion. So I had to have the CAT scan, but I couldn't do it seeing the first prostate or the urologist. because when I was dealing with him, I don't know if he didn't care, but he had this chart that he went by. And this chart said, if your numbers are like this, and he'd have all these smiley faces or sad faces, depending upon what your outcome was. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I guess he's just trying to tell me the truth, but it was his way of handling you like a number. And I thought, well, it's funny because when I'm listening to you at the same time and you're talking about diet and all that, because all this is new to me, I thought, well, man, this guy, what he's saying is right. And I believe it's diet related because it's got to be close to being diet related. It's got to be something to do with what I'm ingesting too, which would help.
Well,
so
yeah,
they
the
says,
overall
well,
health of our bodies, yeah.
yeah. So I said, I got to get a second opinion. I don't like this doctor. So my wife said, get a second opinion. I'd come home just in frazzled. My blood pressure would be high. And, it's like every day you can't sleep hardly because you're thinking about it. It's a mess. And then I thought, well, what have I got so much to worry about? Look at this guy. He's got prostate cancer, went to his bone. What do I have to lose? So it was very inspiring to see somebody on there that would actually talk about it, which there are people that do, but they don't get into diet. They don't talk about diet, and they don't talk about what you need done. They're just more busy telling you, well, I had it. It was removed. I'm going on with my life. Well, that doesn't end there.
Yeah,
And
it's not the whole story.
yeah, so then I went to MD Anderson, and as I was going down the elevator, I looked around and I thought, all these people here, thousands of people. I mean, that place is like just busy constantly. Every time I would go. And the doctor there, he said, yeah, I agree with your initial finding, the doctor's initial findings, and let's go ahead and take it out. Well, he said it hadn't spread. Well, so that's good. But then they don't tell you after they do the operation, they got to do a biopsy. And they said, we found a couple in your lymph nodes out of 20. But, I look at it like this. It could be worse. I got to keep getting checked every 3 or 4 months. That's not bad. But then it's funny when I see somebody like you going through this and how you could just go, okay, well, I'm going to have a podcast and talk to people about this. That's not focusing on you. That's focusing on other people, which is what most people are supposed to do in instances like this. When I'm in the bathroom at work, I keep wanting to turn to somebody and say, hey, have you had your prostate checked? If I hear somebody that's going and they can't hardly go, I'm thinking, but I don't want to be too invasive about it, but I've told people.
I did that last week. I was standing next to Josh Thornburg, and he was peeing. He was a start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. I turned, and we were in next stalls, right next to you. I turned my head and says, dude, you need to get your prostate checked.
Yes. He
said, I'm already on Flomax. I have an enlarged prostate.
Oh, okay.
He's like, this is really creepy. Don't ever talk to me again.
Like, yeah. Nobody wants to talk.
I'll do it again.
So after the operation, they said, okay, you got to get checked. So the first time I went to get my blood work, it was too early and was at 1, and they wanted it to be -1, if that makes any sense. They want the arrow to point that way. So I did that and then finally went back to work. But thank God my job has short-term disability, which they paid me. So it worked out perfect. But all that being said, most programs that you do catch on the internet don't have near I don't know if it's called experience of what they went through like you do, because you circle around about everything.
Well, and one of the things I haven't talked about very much is the financial impact, because I'm very, very, very blessed. The Navy gave me cancer, but they're also covering my cancer.
That's another thing too.
You've got some more experience with the financial side of this, scrolling for my financial question. So what surprised you most about dealing with insurance and costs?
There's certain things they cover and they don't, like anything that's new. I think somebody was talking about seeds.
Oh, yeah, brachytherapy.
Yeah, I don't think they cover that. And so when you go to get an MRI, my deductible is Blue Cross. So right off the bat, I got to pay $2,500 out of my pocket just to get the deductible paid. Then you think, okay, I'm home free. No, you're not, because once you get in there, you got to have an operation. That's another deductible you have to pay. So we're already in $5,000. Then,
can I ask what your annual deductible limit is? I mean, at some point you've used it up, right?
It is $2,500, but for some reason, procedures, you have to pay a certain amount for that. Which is not like really a second deductible. It's almost like a procedure you got to pay. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to run out of money at this point. So if you think about how much that costs, then anything afterwards, like any follow-ups, that's nothing. That's just small co-pays. But, I've got some bills stacked up that I've got to take care of. And the only way to survive is say, can you bill me for this so that I can get this procedure done, get the operation done? So it's not cheap. So you got to have a few $1,000s laying around. You can't just like walk in there and think your insurance is going to cover the whole thing. Now mine didn't, but it's supposedly a good insurance. And then they say that there's programs that people will help you pay your bills, like companies or whatever, but they'll do it. The problem is you got to make a certain amount of money, in which I'm over that. So they weren't able to cover it. So that's the financial part. It can cost a lot. And then, of course, back and forth to the doctor, which I don't live close to the doctor in Huntsville. I'm probably about 100-something miles away. That's no big deal, but it's mostly the medical procedures, back and forth, getting tested. And the whole time you're thinking, man, don't we have to get this done? My first urologist was not in a hurry. I think you even talked about that.
Yeah, you had said, I'm backtracking a little here, but you had mentioned your first PSA test was 11, and then a year later it was 14. So that first doctor didn't do a biopsy based on 11?
No, the first test was done by my regular doctor, and then he wanted me to follow up with a urologist, which took time. So once you get an appointment, then they're like, oh, they're not in a big hurry. And I understand they got other patients, but it's the procedure to get it done and the waiting that you have to do. Now, I don't know how far. I could have had this for, years for all I know. But besides that, you just want to go to the doctor and get it taken care of. And you're in a big hurry. Like, okay, well, let's get this over with. What do I got to do next? But then again, I wouldn't have found out about your podcast and the experience that you've been dealing with. And I know you've been through your ups and downs as far as your emotions, which I couldn't even imagine taking something to lower your testosterone.
Yeah, to 0.
Yeah, that's got to be a nightmare, because you were talking about what your testosterone does. So you explain things a lot more than these other podcasters do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's why, if I wouldn't have found it, I think things would have been different. I wouldn't have got the second opinion, which really kind of confirmed the first MRI. But I just said, no, I think if you put that dye, I guess it's a dye they put in your blood to find out if it's spread, that's the most important, because that's what you had done. So basically, I'd come home, watch your podcast, not line for line, but my wife said, he said this, let's watch him. So I'm on my way over to the grocery store watching. My wife's watching your podcast. Here's the link to his podcast. Make sure you watch it. But
I appreciate that.
Most men are, as far as I know, are probably just like we are, embarrassed about it. First, you're embarrassed. Well, you're scared. Then you're kind of embarrassed. You don't really want to tell anybody. I don't know what it is about that either. I felt the same way. I didn't want people to know. And I don't think people think, differently of you when you have it. I think what it is you get such a complex, and you get it, that word cancer has probably got to be the worst thing in the world to be throwing at somebody, because you don't know what's going to happen. So it scares you.
Yep. Yeah, very true. And it's tough to talk about.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. I'm lucky I grew up with some kind of weird learning disability where I either didn't talk or I talked about everything. And so I'm kind of in that. I just grew up learning to talk about everything. So I tell everybody everything.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't meet anybody that doesn't walk away knowing everything about my cancer. I had an AC inspector come to the house to do the annual look at the AC system.
Yes.
And he was doing his inspection, and I tried to leave him alone a little bit, and I started following him around, and he saw the room where I had to do my this room, and asked about it. I was like, oh yeah, I do. It's this prostate cancer and this and that. And he's like, oh, I've been meaning to get my PSA. I'll make sure you do it. And just go through the whole thing. And by the time he walked out, he's committed. He's like, I'm going to watch a podcast. I'm going to go get my PSA checked. I'm going to start doing it every 6 months. And I just tell everybody, because I don't remember that happening as I was growing up.
No.
Even as an adult, no man was talking about this, and it bugs me. It kills me.
It does. Because my dad, he had it, and they didn't talk about it. Of course, I really wasn't interested, but I was wondering, why I had to go to the doctor. And, they're in their early 70s, or kind of late 70s, but yeah, they didn't say much about it. I mean, and nobody in the family talked about it, because somebody in the family could have had it, and I would have never known. You're right. Men just don't want to talk about it.
Yep. No, and it's important, because early detection saves lives. The earlier you find it.
Yes, it does.
The first indication I have is back in 2017, I had my first PSA test, and it came out above 1.0. It was like 1.69. And I remember now being sent off for a scan of some kind, but no, the doctor didn't even tell me what he was concerned about or what the scan was for. I just remember like going to the Monticello Cancer Center for what? I didn't even know why I was there.
Wow.
They didn't talk about it at all, and nothing showed up. He didn't say anything about active surveillance or anything. And so I never thought, well, I guess I got to get my PSA checked every year. Nothing. And so it wasn't until 2023 that I got my PSA checked again. So 6 years I probably had cancer and could have done
Right.
something about it.
Yeah, if anybody,
Ah.
your doctor should have told you, maybe you need to have this checked. Not 1.69 is not very high though for the prostate, is it?
It's not, but you got to remember mine was metastasized at 4.29. Mine was already in my spine just above 4.0.
Oh my goodness, goodness.
There's a small percentage of men who the PSA levels are very, very low when they get the stage 4 Bravo metastatic prostate cancer.
That's another thing.
Then there's men that they can have PSAs 6, 10, 20 and not have prostate cancer. So
Wow.
it's just an indicator, and it's the trend that matters. And if I'd have been monitoring that trend, I might have gotten treatment in 2020. I might have gotten treatment in 2019.
Right. And that's another thing. When you Google things, don't ever Google anything. Well, I've already learned that. Either you're going to die or you're fine. There's no in between. And the problem with that is, just like you said, I thought that if it was high like that, I mean, I think this now, but back when I had Googled just about everything about it, it was like I couldn't find anything positive, of course. But then it was very confusing because there's just too many things they'd say about it. And that's why you need to go with somebody talk to somebody that's had it to know what to do, because your PSA was, to me, it was low. You didn't have anything. But like you said, that doesn't explain anything.
Right.
And Googling it just makes everything worse. It's like these people that come up with these ideas, and then you start, I don't know about you, but I would look up people famous that had it, that died, and I'm like, oh, great. Dennis Hopper, OJ. I mean, all these people you're thinking, I had no idea. You just learn this stuff. You're right.
Well, here's what's good. On that point, here's what's really good right now. Men aren't dying from prostate cancer. They're dying from the side effects of the treatment. So if you're on ADT, if you're taking prednisone, if you're doing the Lupron shots, if you're taking the Zytiga, it causes heart issues, cardiovascular issues. The number one cause of death for men with prostate cancer is heart issues, which is why I'm back on the bike, because I am scared to death knowing I'm going to be on this treatment forever, and it's probably not the prostate cancer that's going to kill me.
Right. And it's funny too, because life, your perspective changes it's like when you're young, you're smoking cigarettes. We'll just say that. When I was younger. Yeah. And you're thinking, I'll live I don't care if I die from this, you got to die from something. That's the dumbest thing in the world. When you get older, you're like, that's the last thing you think about when you get older. I want to retire, enjoy my retirement, try to make a little bit of money, and, live the rest of my life. And the problem is when you have, and like you said, though, some people die from the side effects. I guess that's a good thing. But, when you're in the process and you have it and you're trying to find out what's going on, the doctor doesn't tell you. He just come in another few months. And I said, shouldn't we have you check my PSA again? Or I would be throwing ideas at him. No, you'll be fine. I said, and this was the first doctor. And I thought, man, this guy is so flippant about everything. But then I guess they deal with patients all the time.
Well, don't give them any grace, because they can handle this better. It sounds like you went on and found another doctor that did handle it better.
Yes, I did. And he was at MD Anderson, and he was pretty much to the point. Yeah, I agree with this finding. And you can have, but he also said you don't need a PSMA PET scan. He said we can see it on the MRI, sorry. And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. Because you suggested, I would have never, ever thought about that unless you wouldn't have mentioned it, because I thought, what is that? Because you would have to literally Google and find these other answers out before I saw your podcast, and then find out that's what I need to do. And then you had I think your friend was on here one time talking about, he had it, and I think 7-8 years later, he got it again, and he had it removed, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Kelly Robertson, 12 years, he got it removed, and 12 years later, because of me and him talking, because of my situation, he went and got his PSA checked, and his PSA was high for not having a prostate.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he went in, and they started talking about, let's do some radiation, let's do this, let's do that. But one of the ideas you talked about, he said, I'm not going to do any treatment yet. He says, I'm going to watch the trend. I'm going to get a PSA test every month for a little while, and I'm going to change my diet. And he changed his diet. He started doing some supplements. He started doing the melatonin. There's a lot of good studies out there talking about the oxidative repair aspects of melatonin. He started doing the turmeric, curcumin, just some of those things, vitamin D. He got an electric bike, got out on an electric bike, started getting more vitamin D, more sunlight, some more exercise. And for the last 6 months, his PSA has been stable. So he chose to not do any radiation or anything, and he's going to just keep doing what he's doing until it starts climbing. So he's checking it every 3 months now. He's not doing monthly. And he took control of his situation because they were throwing a bunch of stuff at him. And he says, hang on a sec, I want to try some other stuff. And he was in a position where he's able to. So he did get a scan. He did get a scan to make sure that there was no metastatic tumors anywhere. And nothing even showed up on the scan in his prostate bed.
Wow.
It was whatever amount he has is so small that it's not a concern right now. And he's managing with diet and exercise.
Now, did he have what do they call perineal invasion? Did he have that?
No, he didn't. When he first got in fact, on our interview, he talked about if he'd have known if he'd have knew then what he knows today, he wouldn't even have gotten the surgery yet. Because his Gleason, he got surgery with a Gleason 6.
Oh, yeah, that's not necessarily
3 plus 3. Yeah. His doctor, this was down in Texas, he said, and his doctor down there just, you can either get it cut out or you can die, however you want to do it.
Yeah. See, I had the perineal invasion, and so that's why I went into a couple of lymph nodes. Yeah, it sounds like he got his done. I mean, I guess it's good that he had it removed, but I see what you're saying. He could have waited a while.
Yeah, he lived with the risks of those side effects unnecessarily for all those years.
Yeah. See, I was lucky because my wife was on a diet, and she lost a bunch of weight, and she gardens here, and she was just totally getting all the gluten. So I had a kind of a head start. So I started, whatever she makes, I got to eat it anyway. So I started eating everything. And he was talking about tomato juice or cooked tomatoes.
Lycopene in tomatoes. Heck yeah. I still believe in that.
So she made me some mornings, and I didn't like the taste, but I would just swallow it really fast. So just drink it. Now, having said that, I was drinking about 6 Dr. Peppers a day in these bottles. And this was when I first got it, and this went on for years. And I thought, well, it can't kill you. It's soda water or whatever. Well, I'm sure that didn't help either. That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, which is what it's looking for, easy to burn fuels.
But guess what? When you look it up, they said prostate cancer is not affected by sugar. No scientific study. And then you have another one that says it does.
Yep.
What do you do?
The research is a mess, right?
Yes. So having said all that, I've cut back on those. I drink about 1.5 a day, which I'm still working on. Just start drinking tea. But the tomatoes, definitely from you.
Good.
And of course, I would hear it secondhand. I'd watch your videos and I'd see it. Then I'd get reminded later, hey, guess what he said about, I've already heard it. I know. So, and all this stuff and she makes, I used to never eat carrots. I used to never eat broccoli. I used to never eat squash. All the stuff that she's making that's changed her diet, made her feel better. Well, I started eating it too. I don't like to eat it all the time, but I'm getting used to it. So,
well, good.
A lot of stuff that you said, believe it or not, you're helping a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe they don't want you to save you as a list of podcasts because maybe they're too embarrassed. I don't know. But I've tried to tell people, like you said, get your PSA checked, guys at work too. So I'm trying to do my part too, but it's kind of weird to bring it up. But I do.
It can be. Mm-hmm. You break that ice, though. Once you get through that a few times, it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, and there's a lot of men making decisions not to get it treated. There's some guys that follow my podcast. They watch my episodes, but it's all about the choices we can make. I did an interview with a guy who absolutely refused hormone therapy and ADT. And he says, and his was metastasized.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm not doing it. He says, I refuse to do that treatment. So he was going down the path of anything else he can do. He was doing a lot of alternative treatment. He flew to Germany to get the Pluvicto radiation. So, because because it was metastatic, and just doing the localized radiation wasn't enough. But he did do localized radiation too. And I keep following him, and I don't know how he's doing right now. And then there's a couple of guys out there that are, sometimes these side effects aren't worth it. And then there's guys, and back to the financial aspect of this kills me. There are guys making decisions on their treatment based on the financial impact.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I can't afford this, so
No.
I'm not going to do it. I'm like, holy crap. This shouldn't be a choice. This should be an automatic thing that is covered by insurance and the government, somebody. Man.
It's amazing too, because if you have the ability with insurance to do it, and even if I didn't have it, I would have gotten some type of, some care like a Medicare, whatever, but I wouldn't just let it go. No way.
Right.
I mean, it's funny when you go through your mind and think about what you have to do, your priorities change when you hear about it.
Yep.
You're like, you don't think the same anymore. And, I pray more, of course, but, there's a lot of things that I do different, but you can't put it off because of finances. You're right. It's got to be the dumbest thing, because you're just taking a big risk.
And so for those guys out there watching that are having financial problems with this, one of the places you can go is zerocancer.org, cancer.org. Take a look at that site. They have some financial links, and it's one of those sites that brings a lot of other links in, so it's a one-stop shop.
Right. And, here also lately with the president getting it, or the former president getting it.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's like, as soon as I seen it, I said, oh my God. I mean, what are the odds? Because I didn't vote for him, but what I'm saying is, when I seen that, I thought, and then everybody started, they start coming out with this information. You could tell the media has no idea what they're talking about. It's true. It's treatable, but it doesn't look good. I mean, that's what somebody, you should know that more than anybody. And then they said, he's had this a lot longer. And then a few days later, then you find out they finally caught on. Yeah, he's had it longer than you think. And that's another thing that everybody just started talking about in the news, and it went away quick.
Well, he did a Memorial Day update, and what it sounds like, he's had a scan. It's not metastasized. It's contained to his prostate. It is a Gleason 9, which is aggressive.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, it has metastasized. It went to his bones.
Yes.
What he said in the interview is it hasn't gone to any organs. So one of the treatment, he says he takes one pill a day. So one of the only treatment out there that I can think of that's a one pill a day treatment for metastatic stage 4 high risk prostate cancer is Orgovix.
Yeah.
So he's probably taken Orgovix. He also said he's working with a surgeon. So he may go for the surgery. But if it's metastasized to his bones, doing surgery at his age and with metastatic to his bones, that doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what he said on his interview.
Oh, well, yeah. Of course, that's what he said.
So
I don't really think that he's going to get surgery at his age, but who knows? I don't know. What's the other complications that he already has mentally? I don't know. It's just amazing. It's like, wow, what are the odds that he had it? Because, it's weird, but the first thing when I read someone's obituary, I'm looking for it. They die of that. If they die of prostate cancer, it's like a lot of people get it. You're right. They always say, well, you'll die of something else before that, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know enough about.
Well, and the community doesn't know. The doctors don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a big shift since 2019. There's been a big shift in screening and treatment. And what happened before 2019 is they said, hey, we're screening too many people. We're doing too many unnecessary procedures, and people are having side effects that didn't have cancer, but they're having side effects from the biopsies and stuff. So they stopped doing the screening, and it was dumb. And then that was like 2012. And then in 2019, they said, we have a lot more men actually dying of prostate cancer, which wasn't the trend before, because they stopped screening them. So now they're screening. And so what happened is there's a bad set of numbers. There's data on life expectancy, and what if you go do the Dr. Google thing and you say, I have prostate cancer, situation, it returns that data set from 2012 to 2019, which is horrible data, because men were dying of prostate cancer because they weren't getting caught early. And
Right.
so what we're living in right now is a period where, okay, they're back to doing the screenings, they're back to looking for early detection, and there's newer treatments. So it's going to be another 3 to 5 years before somebody in the future is going to be able to sit down, Google their symptoms or Google their situation, and get good data, good information. The internet's just not the right place to go for that kind of stuff right now.
No, not at all. Hey, there's too many rabbit holes to go down.
Yeah.
You don't know what to believe. You're like, that's why I stuck with your podcast. I thought, wow, I don't know if I believe half of the stuff I'm reading because it's, from one end of the spectrum to the other. And there's no in between. There's nobody even discussing what's really going on. But then you don't know, that's why podcasts are better, because people like you that have experience with this, because you're living it. Well, that helps a lot better than Googling it. I could tell you that.
I appreciate that. That.
Don't ever think that what you're doing isn't helping someone, because I used to always hear that, like these movie stars that get on there, well, I've got this disease or that. Now I know why they're doing it. They have a platform and it helps. And that's an unselfish thing.
Yeah. When COVID hit, I was an adjunct professor at the college, and I was going 2 nights a week to teach classes. And then COVID hit, and we had to teach remotely. And I was like, holy crap, how do I do that? I had no idea. And so I bought a camera. I upgraded my computer. I started getting some little setup stuff. I got a microphone. I got this little Vocaster thing. And so by the time a year went by into COVID, I got savvy enough to use this stuff. So when I got diagnosed, my first episode was my first day of radiation. And it was the whole week before I was just thinking about this. I was thinking about, I could talk about this as I go through this. And I just kept thinking about that whole week. And then I went for that first set of radiation, and I didn't even know what I was going to do, what I was going to say. And I got my first dose of radiation. I came home, I sat down right here, and I just started talking about it. And that was episode 1. And then it's taken off from there. This is episode 32.
Oh, wow. What year did you start this? Wasn't it in 23 or 22?
23.
Yeah, that's when I found it. As soon as I got out of the doctor, I think it was it was the first or second episode. I just couldn't remember. Because I'm at home, I get back from the doctor and I'm all bummed out. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is Google search something. I didn't want to do it. And, my wife's like, look, women go straight to the point. They're like, well, let's find out what's going on. Men are like, okay, now what? But
that's something that we have to pay attention to, because we are dazed, we're a little confused, we're a little in shock, and we're scared, right?
Yeah.
Our significant others they're just flat out scared. Their whole world just got ripped out from under them, and they have the least amount of control. That's why they go straight for, let's figure this out, because they're not suffering the shock effect that we are from getting the diagnosis. They're just straight up suffering the fear side effect, and they take charge of that fear and work right through it. And that's one of our biggest benefits, is having somebody there to help experience this with. And it makes my heart suffer to talk to men that don't have anybody out there, because there are men that going through this by themselves. And I couldn't imagine having to do that right now.
No, I couldn't either, because my wife's helped me through a lot of this stuff, but just about every aspect of it. Especially changing my diet and help me. Now, some guy at work's probably watching later, and he'll say, but you eat hamburger. Well, when I run out of my good food to eat at work, like on Thursday, it's always like, go buy a hamburger. But a lot of, I don't have, like it used to be, where we constantly go out to eat, buy a burger or whatever every day, or, I'd get the packaged food, the processed foods, which she absolutely just doesn't want in the house anymore, which is not even there anymore.
Good.
But when I'd watched your podcast, you're right. It was in the beginning, because I just got back from the doctor, maybe from the biopsy, and I watched it, but I wasn't really sure if it spread, and I was watching it. I think I was waiting on the phone call, and that's when I thought, man, I could have like you have it. I don't know. I didn't know at the time. And then when I found out it wasn't spreading, I thought, well, look at this guy, what he's going through. It just made me think that it was very, very encouraging to hear somebody like you talk about it. I had a friend of mine, me and my wife, that died a few years ago. You remind me of him. He was you kind of like you're the same person. His name is Terry. Is the same person. You have the same personality, the same way you talk. That's why I was related to you. That reminds me of our friend. And it's like, what else am I going to do? I don't want to Google anything. I'd rather watch this guy, and hopefully somebody else is going to catch it too and watch your show and find out, because they, like I said, it was embarrassing and shocking. It's a lot of things that you really think about when you first get it, and you're thinking about what am I going to do, and all these things. It's hard to sleep because you don't know what's going to happen one day or the next. And then thank God the stuff you're doing is helping you, even though, well, see, I had Crohn's for years when I was in my late, about 28, and they removed some of my small intestine. And then I've had so many surgeries over the years for different things. But I mean, I thought, well, maybe the Crohn's contributed to it. And then it's funny now, before I stopped talking about the Crohn's, I started taking probiotics, and that kept my Crohn's symptoms away. A lot of people say it has a lot to do with your immune system. Yeah, but you're missing the bacteria in your stomach. So when I started taking probiotics, I had no more symptoms. So when they did the MRI, I said, well, your intestinal wall's thickened, because that was from the Crohn's, the damage you did over the years. So other than that, just dealing with that and taking B12 every day. There's so many things that you can probably do to help yourself. But drinking the cooked tomatoes was a good start. Really was. And cutting out all the processed food. But I don't know.
The better we can make our bodies able to handle the oxidative digression, the cell mutations that are happening, anything we can do to slow down the cancer growth, right, by removing the fuels, because it loves easy to burn fuels, and then anything we can do to help our bodies repair. And eating healthy obviously helps our bodies repair.
If you're happy, how would you describe the stuff that you take? Are you just fatigued, or is it getting better?
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. So zero testosterone. If you know anybody with like low testosterone that experiences that, where it's in the 50 to 100, and they talk about how lethargic they are, how they can barely get off the couch, how they can't, no motivation to do anything. I'm like that, except I'm down to zero. So,
oh boy,
the only thing that the coffee fuels me through the day. Like, I wouldn't get up and go to work. I wouldn't be able to do anything. It's that bad. And so this podcast, doing this community support that I get through doing this support group effect of doing these videos really fuels me. The coffee fuels me. And I'm only recently, now almost 2 years into it, able to get back on my bike and start, I'm going to start doing some cardio exercising. I'm going to start, trying to maintain any habit of working out has been miserable, because I just don't feel like doing anything. But when I do the smoothie, when I do with the power greens and all that stuff I put in it, that is an immediate, that's like somebody put a little gas in my tank. Okay, I can go do something now. So it absolutely helps. And if I eat like garbage.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, definitely. I started drinking water too, instead of the Dr. Pepper. Like if I drink 1.5 soft drinks a day, I'll finish right after I drink coffee or something. I'll drink a bottle of water. So like 3 waters a day. Now I'll chug it because I don't like the taste of water. Water to me is just ugh. So I'll just do it to get it out of the way. But it's almost like, well, maybe it'll filter out what I just drank, the bad stuff. I know I need to drink more water. My wife's on me about water all the time. I've known people that love water. I just don't like it. But that's another thing too.
I put lemon juice and salt in my water so that that it's more palatable. Yeah. So it's not quite like a Gatorade or anything, and I don't put much. I take the salt grinder and I just go about 3 times, and then I take a lemon and I squeeze about half a lemon's worth of juice in there, stir that up, and that makes it more palatable for me.
Back what you were saying about in 17, if you would have had your chance all over again, you probably would have done something back in 2017, do you think?
I would have changed a lot. I'm an alcoholic. That's something I haven't talked about a lot on this channel. I've been an alcoholic most of my Navy life and since.
How did you quit? How did you give up the alcohol?
I didn't.
Okay.
But with the cancer, what I've done is I've cut way back. So I drink wine. I drink a little bit of wine once in a while. I might go 2 or 3 months. I might go just a week. But I'm not drinking every night. I'm not drinking anything but wine. I don't drink beer.
Do you think that had anything to do with your prostate? Drinking before?
Yeah. Because what happens is your body's ability to heal from damage, a lot of that ability comes from your liver. And if your liver is
Okay.
busy processing poison out of your system, then the other stuff's going to get through.
See, I never had a problem with alcohol. I drank it when I was in my 20s, and then I gave it up. I haven't drank in probably about 15 years.
Well, congrats. Good job.
Yeah, I never had a problem with that. The only thing my vices were when I had back problems, I had to go to the doctor, get pain meds, and I went down that stupid rabbit hole. And it took years for me to get over that. And you're right. But I didn't think about what you said about your liver having to get rid of all the poisons. It's a good analogy. You're right. It's true.
Yep.
So I always wondered about alcohol, though. I thought, well, once in a while I thought we'd have a drink or two, maybe. And then I thought, well, it's got to be bad on your... Well, even though I don't have a prostate, I don't want to encourage growth of any kind.
Yep.
So that's why I asked you about that.
Excuse me. Yeah, and we all experience cancer all the time. Cells mutate. Cells are rebuilding all the time, and in that rebuilding, sometimes there's a mutation, and it's our body's cleanup system cleans up that mutation before it takes hold is cancer. So we always all are experiencing that. It's just how well is our body equipped to fight it? And I put myself in a situation where I wasn't as equipped to fight it, and it took hold, and here I am.
It's funny. Maybe most men will think, well, you're going to die of something else before prostate cancer. Maybe the idea that they think that they don't need to get checked. Maybe that's what most men think. I think, well, you think that's it?
That is something that they think. I've talked to men that say that and that think that and that believe that.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't know how aggressive it's going to be when it hits.
No.
My actual prostate cancer. So here's putting the pieces together from 2017, from that initial PSA to 2023. And when I got that, just skipped my mind, the scan where they give you the score of the aggressiveness of the cancer, basically. Not the Gleason.
Oh, okay.
The
PSA score.
Can't think of it.
PSA
so
score?
my prostate, not the PSA, but my prostate was graded as a 5. Not graded, that's the wrong word. Had a value of 5 on the scan. And that was normal cancer, normal, non-aggressive. So my prostate, the cancer in my prostate wasn't bad. I could have, not dealt with it for a little while.
You could have monitored that.
In my spine, the tumor that metastasized to my spine was a 25.
Oh.
It was a highly aggressive cancer, and that was the biggest concern for me. In fact, they considered radiating my spine before my prostate. In the end, we went with let's do the 3 doses, 24 doses to the prostate, and then we'll do the 5 doses to the spine. But that was a scary time, knowing how aggressive the one in my spine was, and we're not dealing with it other than the hormone therapy and ADT while we're doing the prostate radiation. That sucked. That was not a fun time.
I know this is silly, and maybe I'm not understanding, but why didn't you have it removed even though you had the bone cancer? Was it? Okay.
I wanted it. I told him, I says, I don't care what the protocol is. I want this out. And I had my radiation oncologist says, no. He says, it doesn't do anything because it's already in your body. It's in your bloodstream. It's removing the prostate doesn't get rid of the cancer. He says it gets rid of the primary bed. And he says, and he confirmed there are some studies out there where they're testing men in situations like mine where they do remove the prostate to see if there's any long-term improvements in their life, right? But those tests aren't done yet. And there's little indication right now that removing the prostate with a metastatic patient actually helps because it's already in our body. And that's why they say once it's metastatic, you're not curable.
Okay.
The best you can hope for is 5 years of no treatment. You might be in remission. But I asked, and he said, okay. He says, but don't just take my answer. He says, I'm going to let you talk to the medical oncologist, and I want you to talk to your urologist. And my urologist was the one that was pushing for the surgery initially. He says, you talk to all 3 of us, and if any one of us says that it's a good idea to do the surgery, he says, then go for it. And all 3 of them had the same answer. No. It doesn't, you will, basically, they said, you'll be, my urologist is one that spelled it out the best. He says, you are going through radiation. You are going to experience side effects from that radiation. He says, there's a different set of side effects from the surgery. He says, right now, you can have the same result with half the side effects by not doing the surgery. I was like,
Oh, wow.
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. I always wondered that. I thought, well, why not remove it? But I guess it's just not cut and dry like that.
Yeah,
It's in the blood.
some men, I don't know how were your side effects from the surgery?
Side effects. It was only, you know what it was? After the surgery, I had to wear a catheter for
Yep.
2 weeks. That was a pain. Other than that, after I removed the catheter, after 2 weeks, I had a little leakage problem, but they tell you to do a keto exercise.
Yep.
And the only way I can explain is if you're going to the bathroom and you want to stop, that's keto. That's all there is to it. Now, after they removed it and I took the catheter out, I had a little bit of leakage here and there. But I noticed when I drank water, I had the urge to go. And when I had the urge to go, I went, of course. There wasn't a leakage. The problem that I was having with leakage was drinking the soft drinks, believe it or not. Because when I go to the bath, when you have your prostate removed, boy, when you have to urinate, it goes quickly. So you're not staying at the toilet anymore. It's all real fast. So the ability to go to the bathroom, which I didn't have really that bad before the operation, it was kind of bad. That's another thing I was going to tell you too. But to get back to after I had the surgery, going to the bathroom was really quick. And I thought, that's great. I like that because I'm not spending much time in the bathroom. But the soft drinks seem to be what caused most of the leakage. So I cut back on those and that got better. But that's it really. I mean, of course, the other part of it, I think we all know what that is.
Yeah.
It's been hit and miss about that as far as trying to deal with that. But that usually comes back if you take, they give you Viagra, I guess. But the problem is the medication they wanted to give me was very expensive. It was like $500. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm not going to spend $500 on something I could just like take a couple of swigs of Dr. Pepper and get my blood pressure going or drink more coffee like you do.
Right.
So, but the side effects weren't that bad at all. They hype it up like you're going to lose length and all that. Didn't happen.
You're a lucky man. There's a lot of men out there that end up in a diaper the rest of their life, that have incontinence, impotence, that suffer really, really bad.
Now, some people, maybe it's the way their doctor removed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when the operation was over, I didn't get a chance to ask my doctor any of that stuff. He wasn't in to come back to the room. He sent his assistant, excuse me. So I didn't get to ask him about all those things. They give you other options to take care of the erection problem. But as far as the other stuff, it was really not that big a deal. My wife bought these pad things or something. I said, there's no way I'm going to use that. No way. And I used one and that was it. I was like, no more. So after that, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't.
Oh, I'm glad. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Man, we've been through a lot of information, the financial side of it, the side effects, the impact. Wow. We have been through a lot of it. What is your number one piece of advice for men just rolling into this situation that just found the channel? What do you want to tell them?
Well, after they get their score or before? I don't know because I couldn't understand the score. I did initially, but it took a lot of studying. I think I'd take your advice too before you had said ask your doctor all the questions you could think of before you have anything done. Yep. Mostly it's the fact that don't Google anything. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't Google anything. And I know it's tempting because you want to know how long this is going to, how long you're going to live. That's the number one thing. And all these predictions are so stupid because you're not going to live. I mean, you're going to die in 5 years. I mean, and don't ever go by your symptoms. I had no symptoms at all.
Yep.
I had a little bit of difficulty urinating, but I thought it was old age. It wasn't. Yep. Those things right there, don't ever go by them because, I don't have symptoms. As soon as I called my first urologist, he said, you don't normally have symptoms. I'm like, oh, that's great. Because the Google says you'll experience all this. And no, that's when it's already almost too late when you start, like it's spread in your case.
Yep.
And so, which, you're handling it right. So everything's going good in your case, I hope. Yeah. But I would say the best advice, don't Google anything. See your doctor. You need to ask them about the numbers and how they indicate anything. But it is scary because you're going to experience that no matter what. But I can't tell you not to be scared because I was. And no matter what anybody would have told me, I would have been scared about it because I was just like,
Yep.
what's going to happen? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to die? But the best thing, like you've always said, I'll take your advice for sure, is ask your doctor any question you can think of and what your next step should be because, it's your body. I mean, you're the only one that's got to live in it. And don't get the idea that you're going to, the problem is when you do Google something and you see something your brain wants to hear, it could be a lie because just because you died of something before that, that's not, like you said, that's not necessarily true.
Yep.
You've got to get it checked. It could go, mine spread to me quickly. It was more aggressive, and that's what the doctor said. I didn't want to wait, but that was me. But other people should, I wouldn't want to wait, and I don't think people should wait. I think that they should treat it as like it could be spreading at the point they're talking about, because I didn't know, and it probably was. And early detection, man, my doctor told me to get a PSA, and I had no idea what a PSA was. And thank God he did, because it caught it, no matter what happens to me for the rest of my life, at least we caught it a little bit earlier. But then I would have never found your podcast, so I wouldn't have taken your advice. I would have done something really dumb. Maybe I would have waited, but I didn't. Because people like you that went through it and are going through it now are giving out good advice. It's a blessing, and
I'm glad it helps.
It
I
does.
appreciate hearing that these videos are helping people. I see it in the comments. I'm doing another episode like this in 2 weeks. With somebody else that these have helped, and I'm looking to do more. I want to do more of these. I want to interact more with the people that are interacting with the channel.
I think you should, because I can't give back in any other way than talking to somebody about it. But I can credit you for what you've done, and to me, that's more important because that'll help you, and you've helped me. So it's like when I watch other podcasts, I think they don't talk to normal people that go through certain things, like these big podcasters. It doesn't matter if they're big or not, but they only want to talk about certain things, and they don't want to talk to people that have been through certain things. And a lot of people really have a lot to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good idea for your show. That's just my opinion. Talking to people that's going through it, because when somebody sees somebody else that already has it, like your friend that was on there, that's what encouraged me to ask you, because I thought, this guy's going through it, that can only help.
Look at Adam. Adam's really, really scary case initially, but he's doing fantastic right now.
I would have never known that.
Yep. And he went through chemo. He's on ADT, hormone therapy, went through chemo, and then he had radiation.
Is that the guy? You're not talking about the guy that had the really severe back pain, the older gentleman?
No. That was
okay.
That was somebody else. Yeah. The one I've had Adam on here about half a dozen times. Yeah.
Yes.
He's a great example. Yeah, great example of another perspective that I didn't have. I didn't go through chemo. He and I both shared the radiation experience, but I want to talk to men that have gone through other experiences, and so that I can learn about them, so that we can talk about them, so that people can learn about it through here. So
that's right,
man. I've really enjoyed having you on the channel today.
I'm telling you, just keep up the good work. You have really helped me a lot. If I can say anything, you're on the right track of whatever you're doing, because you can help a lot of people.
I appreciate that. That's good to hear. And for everybody watching, if you watched this far, I really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We're gonna keep doing these. I'm gonna do more and more interview episodes. So it's been fun. This has been a great conversation. Thanks, Tom, for being on.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody take care. Love you all.